The other tunneling experiments that will be of pretty interesting for us is the Josephson tunneling. Okay, and this was discovered a couple of years later compared to Kiever, and Josephson really predicted that a pairing of Josephson's work was a theoretical work. He predicted on theoretical grounds that there is a possibility of tunneling of a Cooper pair between one superconducting block to another superconducting block, which are being separated from each other by an insulating barrier. খেয়াল করে দেখো যে গিয়ারবার টানেলিং এর ক্ষেত্রে একটা এন্ডে এন ছিল বলে, নরমাল মেটাল ছিল বলে কুপার পেয়ার ট্রান্সফার করা সম্ভব হয়নি। কুপার পেয়ার ভেঙে একটা ইলেকট্রন বেরোতে পারে, অথবা নরমাল মেটাল থেকে একটা সিঙ্গেল ইলেকট্রন এসে গ্রাউন্ড স্টেটের উপরে একটা ফাঁকা সিঙ্গেল পার্টিকেল লেভেলে বসতে পারে। এই ছবিটা বদলে যাবে যদি আমি দুপাশে সুপারকন্ডাক্টিং ব্লক নিই। Now it is theoretically possible that a Cooper pair can migrate or drift from one superconducting block, tunnel through the barrier, and go to the other superconducting block, because both the superconducting blocks are now host of bound Cooper pairs. Therefore, we now consider an SIS type of barrier. One side is superconductor, the other side is also superconductor, and in between there is a thin insulating layer. For example, in most of the experiments, one can take two similar superconducting blocks. For example, you can take stannum, tin, as a superconducting element on one side, tin on the other side, and stannous oxide in between, which is a insulator. টিনের অক্সাইড দিয়ে আমি ইনসুলেটিং ব্যারিয়ারটা তৈরি করব, আর দুদিকে দুটো সুপারকন্ডাক্টিং ব্লক নেব যারা হচ্ছে গিয়ে টিনের বোধহয় টিসির ভ্যালুটা হচ্ছে অ্যারাউন্ড 3 to 4 কেলভিন, তার নিচে থাকবে। Okay, so this is the case where pair tunneling is possible. It was a theoretical prediction by Josephson, and that was experimentally verified by Anderson and Ravel just 1 year later. By 1963, people confirmed that yes, this kind of phenomena really takes place. Now, Josephson tunneling has got two different types of manifestation. One is known as DC Josephson effect, and the other is known as AC Josephson effect. Let us see what are what. DC, first of all, let me just flash the diagram which we are really considering. We have got two superconducting layers, both are S, so to differentiate I call it S1 and the other is called S2, and there is an I, this insulating barrier. Okay, so this kind of an experimental block diagram is at the back of our mind. Okay, now let us come back to the definition of DC and AC Josephson effects. DC Josephson effect is a phenomenon where a direct current flows across an SIS junction in absence of any electric or magnetic field. Okay, it's a pretty interesting phenomena. I have got two superconducting blocks separated by an insulator, and I apply this kind of current measuring device. I'll find that there is a current flowing through this junction, a DC, but I didn't apply any electric or magnetic bias, or magnetic field. So this something magical will be happening in this situation. This is known as DC Josephson effect. Soon we will be seeing how this thing is possible. On the other hand, if I apply a small DC bias across this SIS junction, then a current flows. But this current is not a DC. This current is an alternating current. And the frequency of this current is of the order of radio frequency. So whenever I apply a DC bias across a Josephson junction, a radio frequency oscillation is observed in the current flowing across the junction. So there are two aspects of the Josephson effect. One is across this Josephson junction, that means this SIS junction. If I don't apply any bias, I observe a DC flowing across this junction. If I apply a small DC bias, I find a radio frequency oscillation in the current flowing across this junction. So these are the two different aspects, two different manifestations of Josephson effect. Sorry. Now, the utility of Josephson effect is that this is the experiment that really verifies experimentally that the basic charge entity is of magnitude twice E, right? Because in BCS theory, we assume that the Cooper pairs are bound in electrons are bound in Cooper pairs. There are two partners in one such pair, and whenever the electrical transport occurs, both these electrons move through the lattice in a scattering free manner, in a non-dissipative manner. Therefore, always current is being transported in units of twice E. That was the conjecture of BCS theory, the predictions of the BCS theory, and experimentally it was verified by Josephson effect that it is really twice E. On the other hand, Josephson effect is a very accurate practical tool for determining this fundamental constant E by H cross. Okay, we will see this thing soon, that how it is possible. Okay, so this is a device by which I can measure E by H cross very accurately. Okay, so let us get into this experiment itself. আচ্ছা, এই পর্যন্ত যা বললাম তাতে কারোর কোনো কোয়েরি তৈরি হলো? Hello. Okay. Okay. So there are the two blocks, superconducting block S1 and the other superconducting block S2. They are separated by a small weak link. I call this a weak link, this thin insulating layer. These two blocks are not really decoupled. They can talk to each other via this weak link, because superconducting wave function of one block can extend across this barrier. The barrier is so thin. Okay. For example, as I have said, that tin oxide and tin will be an classic example for this kind of a Josephson junction, where tin has got a Tc of the order of nearly 4 Kelvin, and you just try to record the current flowing through this junction under the application or without any DC bias across the junction. Now, how this phenomenon takes place, to understand that, let us assume that the wave functions of the paired superconducting state in block 1 and block 2 are respectively psi1 and psi2. Okay, the ground state of the superconductor is described by a wave function, which we tried to construct by a variational means in BCS theory. But let us assume that by some means these wave functions are known to us. Okay. For the block 1 it is psi1, and for block 2 it is psi2. Now, if there is no connection between these two blocks, these two are two independent separate blocks, then these two wave functions will satisfy Schrödinger equation separately. This is the energy operator IH cross del del T operating on psi1 will return me the energy of this state. So it is IH cross del psi1 del T is equal to E1 psi1, where E1 is the energy of the S1 block. Similarly, for the S2 block, I can have the counterpart of the Schrödinger equation. So equation 1 represents really a set of two decoupled equations separately written for the two different blocks. Is it clear? ব্লক দুটো যদি ইন্ডিপেন্ডেন্ট হয় তাহলে নিজেদের Schrödinger ইকুয়েশন স্যাটিসফাই করবে, one with energy E1, the other with energy say E2. দুটোর এনার্জি আলাদা হতেই পারে, তো ইন জেনারেল এই হচ্ছে তার চেহারা। Now, in the presence of interaction, okay, which I write down as a function of space, যেটা কিনা is offered by this layer I, there will be a coupling between these two equations. Now, I am considering this coupled system consisting of 1, 2 connected by this interaction potential offered by this insulating layer. So by virtue of this interaction potential, now the two systems will be coupled, and there will be a shift in the energy, and if the interaction potential is very small, then we can really estimate the shift in energy. Okay, the change in the energy will be nearly equal to the matrix element of UR, but I have to make it real. So once it is UR psi1 star psi2 plus psi1 psi2 star. ওকে, অর্থাৎ আমি psi1 u psi2 এই ম্যাট্রিক্স এলিমেন্টটা ক্যালকুলেট করছি এবং তার কমপ্লেক্স কনজুগেট নিচ্ছি এবং সেটাকে যোগ করছি, আদারওয়াইজ দিস কোয়ান্টিটি উইল নট বি রিয়েল, but I know that the energy must be real, so to ensure that I take the matrix element in this way. So if the potential is not very large, then I can really calculate the interaction term in this way that will be responsible for the change in energy of this system. And this is approximately written in this manner, where delta V is the width of this I layer. Okay, so in this integral I assume that this weak link is so thin that this value of UR is nearly constant and is taken outside the integral epsilon, and these quantities, integral over these quantities, can be approximated by the value of these functions evaluated at some reference point interior to I. Okay, and then I will be left with the width of this integral, which is taken out as delta V. এই টার্মটা কি সবাই বুঝতে পারলে? না বুঝতে পারলে বলো। হ্যালো, হ্যাঁ, সেটা হচ্ছে যে দেখো, যখন নাকি কোনো ইন্টারঅ্যাকশন নেই, দুটো সিস্টেমের জন্য ডিকাপলড শ্রোডিঙ্গার ইকুয়েশন আমি লিখেছি, কিন্তু এবার যখন ইন্টারঅ্যাকশন থাকবে এই ইকুয়েশন গুলো কাপলড হবে। আর কি হবে, যে এদের এনার্জিটা শিফট করবে, অর্থাৎ এই E1 আর E2 এনার্জি থাকবে না, এনার্জি শিফট করে যাবে। এই শিফটের পরিমাণটা কিসের উপর ডিপেন্ড করবে না, ওই পোটেনশিয়ালের উপর ডিপেন্ড করবে। আর সিস্টেমগুলো কোন কোন ওয়েভ ফাংশনে আছে বা স্টেটে আছে তার উপর ডিপেন্ড করবে। তাহলে টু এ ফার্স্ট অ্যাপ্রক্সিমেশন I can estimate the shift in energy large. I can make an estimate of this energy by this integral, and to make the stuff real I have to take the complex conjugate as well, কারণ এনার্জি তো একটা রিয়েল কোয়ান্টিটি হবে। তাহলে it is the integral psi1 star psi2 psi1 psi2 star, এবং যে জিনিসটার আমি ম্যাট্রিক্স এলিমেন্ট নিচ্ছি সেটা হচ্ছে UR। তাহলে এরকম একটা ইন্টিগ্রাল আমাকে করতে হবে। এই যে ইন্টিগ্রালটা আমি করছি, যে রিজিয়ন জুড়ে করছি সেই রিজিয়নটা খুব থিন, কারণ আমরা আগেই বলেছি যে this insulating layer is very thin. Therefore I can assume that UR is practically constant, which has got a value nearly epsilon, and it will be taken outside the integral. আর কি হবে, to calculate the volume integral of this element, these two product of these two wave functions, I can approximate this quantity by evaluating it at some interior point at I0. অর্থাৎ I এর ভেতরে আমি একটা রেফারেন্স পয়েন্ট নিচ্ছি, সে R is equal to R0। সেখানে যদি আমি ওয়েভ ফাংশন গুলোকে ইভ্যালুয়েট করি, করে যদি এই প্রোডাক্টটা ক্যালকুলেট করি এবং তাকে যদি আমি ওই স্লাইসের উইডথ দিয়ে গুণ করে দিই, যেটাকে আমি ডেল্টা ভি লিখেছি, তাহলে আমি যে ভ্যালু পাবো দিস মাল্টিপ্লাইড বাই ডেল্টা ভি, সেটা হচ্ছে গিয়ে এই ইন্টিগ্রালের সঙ্গে নিয়ারলি ইকুয়াল। এই স্লাইসটা খুব থিন বলেই আমি এই অ্যাপ্রক্সিমেশনটা করতে পারছি। আর এই কমপ্লেক্স কনজুগেট পার্ট থেকে এই জিনিসটা আসবে। এটা বোঝা গেল? ওকে, ফাইন। তাহলে দেখো যে নাও আই ট্রাই টু রাইট ডাউন দ্য equations, Schrodinger equations for these two systems once again. This is IH cross del psi 1 del t. যদি কাপলিং না থাকতো তাহলে শুধু এই টার্মটা থাকতো। Now in presence of coupling, this equation couples with the other wave function psi 2. Similarly, the equation for psi 2 gets coupled with the other equation of psi 1. So these are the quantities epsilon that really couple this thing. Okay, so this is the quantity epsilon which has got the dimension of energy, which is responsible for this kind of coupling. Okay, so I will rewrite this Schrodinger equation in this manner and this Schrodinger equation in that manner. Okay, clear? বেশ, এবারে দেখো যে since therefore we are in a position to solve equations 2 and 3 simultaneously. These are two coupled equations, so I have to solve them simultaneously. Now I try a general form of the wave functions of the paired state, say psi j, which is root over nj times e to the power I phi j. I know that psi j is a complex quantity, so I write an e to the power I phi j, where phi j is some suitable phase factor, and there is a normalization factor root over nj, simply because of the fact that if I calculate psi j mod square, I get back nj, which gives me the density of the pairs. Okay. The superconducting wave function, the many body wave function, when I take the modular square of it, it must return me back the density of the Cooper pairs. Therefore, I put it as a prefactor, the square root as a prefactor in psi j, and construct psi j in this manner, so that psi j mod square gives me back nj, and there is this phase factor which makes psi j complex. And for j is equal to 1 and 2, I can write down psi j, psi 1 and psi 2 for both these blocks. Okay. However, this phase factor phi j, we do not know yet what is this. Okay, it is still unspecified. Let us see whether we can discover this. Okay, so if I substitute this psi 1 and psi 2 in equation 2, so I assign it as a homework problem for you. Do it explicitly and find that this equation 2 really generates this kind of an equation. It's pretty easy. You just apply this thing here. Remember that this n and phi j, they can be time varying. So when you have this del del t, you must be careful enough to take the derivative of this stuff. Okay. So this is for block 1. Could you follow the argument? Sorry.
Sir, sir.
Now you can simplify this equation. If you simplify this equation after a little bit of algebra, you can add and subtract. You will find that this left hand side can be written in this way as equation 4. And if you apply the same trick for equation 3 here, you can again generate an analogous equation for the block 2 as well. Okay, from equation 3 you arrive at this equation 5. So equation 4 and 5 are structurally very similar. Only difference is being that here appears the variables for block 1, here appears the variables for block 2, here is the energy parameter for block 1, here is the energy parameter for block 2. Okay, now this 4 and 5, these are complex equations. So to handle these complex equations, we resort to our old trick. Whenever we find this kind of a situation, we just separate out the real and complex imaginary parts. So if I take the real parts apart, then I find that n1 dot is equal to minus n2 dot, and that is given by a sine function. And here in writing down this thing, I have defined a parameter n, which is square root of product of the Cooper pair densities in both these blocks. On the other hand, the imaginary parts of 4 and 5 will yield two equations. One is this, the other is that. Okay, and if you combine these two equations, then you can write down that phi 2 dot minus phi 1 dot is proportional to the difference between the energy parameters E1 and E2. Now if I use two identical blocks, as I have said, tin separated by tin oxide, then for the two identical blocks, N1 and N2 will be the same. Okay, so N1 and N2 both are being replaced by small n. If you do this here and there, then you can really write down phi 1 dot, phi 2 dot minus phi 1 dot in this manner. Okay, therefore you see that the current flowing from S1 to S2 is either proportional to N2 dot or minus N1 dot, because that is the rate at which the Cooper pairs at a given sample is decreasing or increasing. This is simply because the Cooper pairs are being transferred from one sample to the other. So in one sample, the number of Cooper pairs will be, the density of Cooper pairs will be decreasing with time. In the other block, the density of Cooper pairs will be increasing with respect to time in a compensatory manner, so that the number conservation is allowed. That's why N1 dot is equal to minus N2 dot, and this will give me the current. Therefore, you can readily find out from this expression 6 that the current density flowing across, or the current flowing across this junction, will be of this form: some constant J0 where J0 is proportional to this parameter epsilon, and there will be a sinusoidal factor phi 2 minus phi 1. So this factor really depends on the phase difference between the two samples. Okay, so it depends on the sinusoid of the difference between the two phases of the two samples. Therefore, there will be a current flowing through this sample, which is really a sinusoidal function of phi 2 minus phi 1. But remember, there is no time variable. Therefore, this is a DC. Okay. By changing phi 2 and phi 1, the magnitude of this current can be changed, but the current is a DC for given set of values of phi 1 and phi 2. It is a time independent current that will be flowing through this across this junction. Therefore, if I don't apply any bias across the SIS junction, I will be recording this kind of a current. Even in absence of a biasing voltage, I will get this DC. Okay, so the DC of magnitude J will flow. This is what is known as DC Josephson effect. Now, for the case when phi 2 minus phi 1 is pi by 2, you will be recording the maximum value of J, which is given by J0, and of course it will depend on all these quantities, epsilon, n, h cross, etc. Okay, now to look further, this is what we have understood as the DC Josephson effect, but let us now look into what do we find in the other case when I apply a small bias. To see this, I observe the other equation, this equation number 7. I can write down from equation number 7 that the time derivative of the phase difference between these two samples is simply 1 by h cross E1 minus E2. Remember, E1 and minus E1 and E2 are the energy eigenvalues when these two blocks were completely decoupled. Now, if one applies a DC voltage V across the junction, the potential difference seen by a pair in going from one block to the other, okay, we definitely depend on V. Okay, it will be how much? 2 electrons are there, so that there will be a charge of twice V. So for a single electron, we are accustomed to seeing this potential difference as EV, but now it will be twice EV, this extra potential. Okay. Now, as I have said that I will be starting with two identical blocks. So if I start with two identical blocks, then these two energy parameters E1 and E2 will be 0. They will be the same. Therefore, E1 minus E2 will be 0. And therefore, this extra potential that will be seen by an electron in going from one junction to another will now make this E1 minus E2 different. It will be twice EV. Okay. এই পয়েন্টটা কি সবাই বুঝতে পারলেন? হ্যালো, হ্যাঁ, দেখো যে আমি যদি আইডেন্টিক্যাল ব্লক নিয়ে শুরু করি, তাহলে এনার্জি আইগেন ভ্যালু E1 আর E2 গুলো হচ্ছে সমান। তাহলে একটা কুপার পেয়ারকে যদি আমি একটা ব্লক থেকে আরেকটা ব্লকে নিয়ে যাই, ইট উইল সেন্স নো এনার্জি ডিফারেন্স, কোনো পোটেনশিয়াল ডিফারেন্স দেখবে না, কারণ E1 আর E2 তো সমান, তাই তো? কিন্তু এই অবস্থায় যদি আমি একটা পোটেনশিয়াল ড্রপ তৈরি করি, তখন দেখো যে হায়ার পোটেনশিয়াল থেকে লোয়ার পোটেনশিয়াল বা লোয়ার পোটেনশিয়াল থেকে হায়ার পোটেনশিয়ালে যেতে গেলে এই ইলেকট্রন পেয়ারটা একটা এনার্জি ডিফারেন্স বুঝতে পারবে। তার মানে যদিও আমি আইডেন্টিক্যাল ব্লক নিয়ে শুরু করেছিলাম, কিন্তু এখন ইলেকট্রন পেয়ারটার মনে হবে যে there is a non-zero value of E1 minus E2, and it will be, if it flows from S1 to S2, this E1 minus E2 will be minus twice EV. V ভোল্টেজের মধ্যে দিয়ে একজোড়া ইলেকট্রনকে নিতে গেলে ওয়ান টার্ন হয় টুয়াইস ইভি, তাই তো? তাহলে আমি যদি একটা পোটেনশিয়াল সেট করি স্টেডি ইলেকট্রিক ফিল্ড দিয়ে অফ ম্যাগনিটিউড ভি, একটা পোটেনশিয়াল যদি সেট করি, তাহলে একটা ব্লক থেকে আরেকটা ব্লকে যেতে পোটেনশিয়াল যদি এতখানি চেঞ্জ করে, তাহলে ওর মনে হবে যে ওর এনার্জি ভ্যালু যেন ঠিক এতখানি চেঞ্জ করে গেছে। তাহলে আমি শুরুতে E1 মাইনাস E2 জিরো নিয়ে শুরু করলেও এই পেয়ারটা কিন্তু দেখবে যে ওই ডিফারেন্সটা যেন জিরো নয়, the difference is given by this. Clear? যদি জিরো বায়াস থাকতো তাহলে এই এনার্জি ডিফারেন্সটাও জিরো দেখতো, যে আমি পোটেনশিয়াল দেবো সঙ্গে সঙ্গে এই পরিমাণ এনার্জি ডিফারেন্সও দেখতে পাবে। In that case, you will be having from this equation you'll be having that the time derivative of the phase difference is given by minus twice EV H cross. Therefore, phi 2 minus phi 1, the difference in the phases is this much, apart from a constant of integration. Okay. Now you see that the two phases of the two blocks are not identical. They are really different by this much. Actually, যখন ভোল্টেজটা জিরো তখনও কিন্তু এই পোটেনশিয়াল এই ফেজগুলো আইডেন্টিক্যাল না হতে পারে। সি দিস ইন্টিগ্রেশন কনস্ট্যান্ট ফাই জিরো। ইন জেনারেল এইখানে কিন্তু একটা ফেজের ডিফারেন্স থাকতে পারে। খেয়াল করে দেখো যে আমি দুটো ব্লককে আইডেন্টিক্যাল বলেছি, সুতরাং যেগুলো ফিজিক্যালি অবজারভেবল ভেরিয়েবল, ফর এক্সাম্পল কুপার পেয়ার ডেন্সিটি, ফর এক্সাম্পল দ্য এনার্জি আইগেন ভ্যালু, এইগুলো কিন্তু সমান হবে, ঠিক আছে, জিরো বায়াস কেসে। কিন্তু এখান থেকে তুমি কখনোই এই ফেজ ফ্যাক্টরের ডিফারেন্সটা রুল আউট করতে পারবে না, কারণ দিস ফেজ ইজ নট এ ফিজিক্যালি অবজারভেবল কোয়ান্টিটি। যেই তুমি সাই মড স্কোয়ার নেবে, ওই ই টু দ্য পাওয়ার আই ফাই পার্টটা কেটে কুটে বেরিয়ে যায়। সুতরাং ফাই এর ভ্যালুতে কিন্তু একটা ইনডিটারমিনেসি থাকবে। সুতরাং ইন জেনারেল ফাই টু মাইনাস ফাই ওয়ান উইল বি সাম ফাই জিরো ইন জেনারেল। কিন্তু যখন আমি পোটেনশিয়াল অ্যাপ্লাই করব, দিস অ্যাবাভ অ্যানালিসিস টেলস আস দ্যাট দেয়ার ইজ দিস ডিফারেন্স হুইচ ইজ প্রপোর্শনাল টু ভি, and also it will include this phi 0 value which is still present when v is 0. So in general, this is going to be the difference between the phases in the two superconducting wave functions. এটা বোঝা গেল?
Yes.
বেশ। So we are now in a position to calculate the difference between phi 1 and phi 2. আমরা একদম শুরুতে বলেছিলাম যে phi 1 phi 2 কি আমাদের কোনো আইডিয়া নেই, আমরা দেখি এটা সেটেল করতে পারি কিনা। আমরা দেখলাম যে phi 1 আর phi 2 কে আমরা ইন্ডিভিজুয়ালি ডিটারমিন করতে পারছি না, বাট উই ক্যান ফাইন্ড আউট one such phase factor with respect to the other apart from an arbitrary constant. Okay. Now, if you look into the expression for the Josephson current, this J is equal to J0 sin phi 2 minus phi 1 from equation 8. Now, under this finite bias condition, you just try to make use of this equation 8 to rewrite the expression for the current. It is pretty easy. You just take out this expression for phi 2 minus phi 1 and plug it back into equation 8. So, we will find that this J will be given by J0 sin phi 0 minus 2 EVT by H cross. Okay. So, it's a sinusoidal function of time. Therefore, the current flowing across this junction is an alternating current, and the frequency of this current is given by 2 EV over H cross, this circular frequency. Okay. So if you apply a DC bias, a fluctuation in current of this frequency will take place. Now let us make an estimate of this frequency. In real experiments, this voltage is of the order of microvolt. Here is a typo. This should not be any E here. It is typically of the order of 1 microvolt. Okay. If you put say 1 microvolt value here, then omega is typically of the order of, or the frequency nu is typically of the order of 483.6 megahertz. This is not really omega, this is nu. 483.6 megahertz. This falls in the radio frequency region. Okay. That's why we say that when we apply a DC bias across a Josephson junction, a radio frequency oscillation in the current is observed. This is what is known as AC Josephson effect. Okay. Therefore, when a pair of electron is tunneling across this junction under a DC bias of voltage V, there is a photon of energy H cross omega which is equal to twice EV that will be either emitted or absorbed. Okay. Since there is this oscillation in current is there, you know that if I have an oscillating current, this will generate an electromagnetic field, and that corresponds to emission or absorption of photons, and these photons will have energy H cross omega. So H cross omega is of this value. Okay. So this is the phenomenon. This photon is of course in the radio frequency region, radio frequency photon. So this is the situation what we are observing, AC Josephson effect. Now if you measure omega and V very precisely from here in the AC Josephson effect, one can determine E by H cross very accurately. Okay, because if you determine this omega and V, you are left with the value of E over H cross. So AC Josephson effect allows us to measure E by H cross very accurately. And these experiments really confirm that the superconducting current involves a transfer of charge units of twice E. That really there is a transfer of pair that can be actually verified by this experiment, because the whole theory of this experiment is based on the assumption that a Cooper pair tunnels across an insulating barrier from one superconducting layer to another superconducting layer. So the verification of this experimental theoretical conjecture really verifies that the charge transfer is in units of twice E. Okay. Now, here we have developed this theory in absence of a magnetic field. If we apply a magnetic field, in the presence of a magnetic field, then we can make use of the idea of flux quantization. We referred to the flux quantization at the very beginning, at the introductory lecture. We talked about made few remarks about this flux quantization. If I have a multiply connected superconducting region, then flux through this hole inside this multiply connected superconducting region is coming in units of basic flux quantum. Okay, and this flux quantum really depends on H cross and E, and in fact, if for a superconductor, it is shown to be H cross over twice E. Okay. Now you can employ this Josephson effect to measure very low field intensities using this kind of an idea. Okay, such a device is known as superconducting quantum interference device or a SQUID. SQUID is a very useful device by which you can measure very small magnetic flux or very small magnetic field. So for very accurate magnetometry, one uses a SQUID magnetometer. Only restriction is that since you have to deal with superconductors, the corresponding temperature to run the SQUID is pretty low. This is the technological challenge, but otherwise the performance of the SQUID is very accurate. Now let us try to explain the principle of a SQUID very shortly. In a SQUID, two Josephson junctions are connected in parallel using the same S material but with two different I layers, insulating layers, so that the whole system looks like a loop. Let us look into the figure. You see that here is a block, the upper circular block and the lower circular block. Here is a superconducting element, the same superconducting element here and there, but here on the upper half circle, I have inserted an insulator, say I1, and in the lower half circle, I have inserted an insulator I2. I1 and I2 have got different widths. Okay, so that the potential barrier for a pair tunneling across this channel and the potential barrier for a pair tunneling across that channel is different in general. Okay, so this is the only point to consider, and these are connected to external leads through which current can be injected in and current can be taken out of this system. Now whenever some current enters this system, it breaks up into two parts. One is J1 through the upper semicircle and J2 through the lower semicircle. And when I record the total current over here, J1 and J2 are summed over. Okay. Now if J1 and J2 have some phase difference because of traversal through two different I layers, then there will be an interference between J1 and J2. And recording the current at the output channel, I can find out this interference effect. And of course, this magnetic field plays a crucial role here. Okay. Through the center of the loop, as I have just shown in the figure, there is a magnetic flux phi. When using the idea of flux quantization, one can really show that we are not showing over here explicitly that the total current passing through the SQUID under zero bias, that means DC under the DC Josephson case, is of the form J0 sine phi 0 times a cosine function of the flux applied through the hole inside this Josephson squid. ওকে, পয়েন্টটা হচ্ছে যে এই যে দুটো কারেন্ট এখান দিয়ে মিট করছে এদের মধ্যে একটা ফেজ ডিফারেন্স তৈরি হবে। এই ফেজ ডিফারেন্সটা বিকজ অফ দিস অ্যান্ড দ্যাট অ্যান্ড অলসো বিকজ অফ দিস ফ্লাক্স। ঠিক আছে, তাহলে এদের যখন আমি ইন্টারফিয়ার করাবো তাহলে টোটাল যে কারেন্ট তৈরি হবে তার মধ্যে এই ইন্টারফারেন্স ফাংশনটা থাকবে। ঠিক আছে, and that will involve an oscillatory factor involving phi। আর এই যে দুটো চ্যানেলের মধ্যে দিয়েও পাস করেছে তার জন্য আলাদা আলাদা ফেজ ডিফারেন্স হয়েছে, তার জন্য একটা নেট ফেজ ডিফারেন্স থাকবে, সেটা ওই phi 0 এর মধ্যে প্লাগ করা আছে। তাহলে এই যে টোটাল কারেন্ট তৈরি হবে, দেখো খেয়াল করে যদি ডিসি জোসেফসন এফেক্ট থাকতো, নর্মাল ডিসি জোসেফসন এফেক্ট অ্যাক্রস এ সিঙ্গল জোসেফসন জাংশন, তাহলে এই ফ্যাক্টরটা থাকতো না। it will be simply J total is equal to J0 sin phi 0 এই জিনিসটা হতো। ওকে, বিকজ phi 2 minus phi 1 is phi 0, আইডেন্টিক্যাল সুপারকন্ডাক্টর নিয়েছি। কিন্তু যেই নাকি আমি এটা ওই ফ্লাক্স কোয়ান্টাম ভেতরে ঢুকিয়ে দেব, সঙ্গে সঙ্গে এখানে একটা অসিলেটরি ফ্যাক্টর ঢুকে যাবে কোসাইন অফ ই ফাই বাই এইচ ক্রস। এই থিওরিটা এখানে আমরা ডিটেইলে কষলাম না, কিন্তু কি করে করতে হবে তার একটা ইন্ডিকেশন দিলাম যে এরকম একটা ম্যাগনেটিক ফিল্ড যদি থাকে তাহলে ম্যাগনেটিক ফিল্ডের দুপাশ দিয়ে যে কারেন্ট সার্কুলেট করছে তাদের মধ্যে একটা ফেজ ডিফারেন্স তৈরি হবে, এবং এই ফেজ ডিফারেন্সটা ওই ম্যাগনেটিক ফিল্ডের উপর ডিপেন্ড করবে। তোমরা যখন পরে আহারনফ বোম এফেক্ট করবে তখন এই ধরনের একটা এফেক্ট তোমরা আবার অবজার্ভ করবে। তো এই যে ফেজ ডিফারেন্সটা আমি ঢোকালাম, তার ফলে দ্য ওভারঅল কারেন্ট ফ্লোয়িং থ্রু জোসেফসন জাংশন উইল হ্যাভ অ্যান অসিলেশন অ্যাজ এ ফাংশন অফ দ্য ওকে, যেখানে আমি গাউসিয়ান ইউনিট ইউজ করেছি। নাও by measuring the period of oscillation of this current as a function of phi, one can এই যে কোসাইন ফাংশনটা নিউট্রালি প্রবলেম, দেখো phi 0 is a constant, so sin phi 0 is a constant. Now if you plot this J total as a function of this, you can really find out this cosine function by measuring its a period of this oscillatory current, and you can accurately measure the flux. If you go on changing the flux, okay, you can change the flux by integral multiple of this flux quantum, then you can really see the sinusoidal or cosinusoidal variation in J total as a function of phi. From that you can make a very accurate estimate of the flux. So this device is really important in measuring the magnetic flux, which really uses the two Josephson junctions in parallel and makes use of an interference between the channel currents as a function of the flux enclosed through the through the hole of the squid. Okay, so with this we finish our discussion here.